A sloth, a donkey, and a curious human. Send a prompt and see what they're doing. One hits record with a question on his mind. Two brothers pick it up, see what they find. Corn takes his time, Herman's got the facts. Back and forth, they never hold back. My weird prompts, come on in, that's where we begin. My weird prompts, glad you're here.
This episode was generated using artificial intelligence. Please verify facts.
Well, we finally did it. We decided to turn the microphones around. Usually, we are sitting here in our house in Jerusalem, waiting for that familiar ping on the server, knowing that our housemate Daniel has sent over another rabbit hole for us to climb down. But today, we are the ones picking the topic. And honestly, it is a topic that has been staring us in the face every single day across the breakfast table.
It is a bit meta, isn't it? I am Corn Poppleberry, and today we are conducting a full investigative deep dive into the man, the myth, the person who probably forgot to do the dishes this morning, Daniel Rosehill. We decided to take his own investigative spirit and apply it to his own digital footprint. We are treating this as a formal open-source intelligence briefing.
It's only fair, really. He spends his life analyzing systems, trends, and the future of technology, so we thought we would analyze the architect behind my weird prompts. We are calling this the Rosehill Audit. We have spent the last few days combing through years of GitHub repositories, blog posts, social media archives, and technical documentation to figure out exactly what makes Daniel tick. We are looking for the signal in the noise of a very prolific creator.
And there is a lot to uncover. If you look at his output, it is frankly a little bit overwhelming. We are talking about a guy who seems to have a physiological need to document everything he touches. If he builds a script to automate his coffee machine, there will be a 3-page README file on GitHub by noon. It's a specific kind of digital compulsion that we need to unpack.
That is the perfect place to start, the sheer volume of his output. But before we get into the technical weeds, we should probably establish the timeline, because to understand the digital footprint, you have to understand the physical journey. Daniel is originally from Cork, Ireland. You can still hear it in his voice when he gets particularly excited about a new large language model or a specific configuration of Linux. He is a product of the rebel county, and that rebellious independent streak runs through everything he builds.
Right, the rebel county. That Irish upbringing is the foundation. He moved to Israel about a decade ago, around 2015, and you can see that transition reflected in his early writing. He started in journalism and communications. If you go back far enough in his digital history, you see a man who is very focused on the traditional narrative. He was writing for various publications, covering the tech scene in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, and even doing some heavy lifting in the world of public relations for high-tech firms.
It's notable to see that evolution from a storyteller to a systems builder. He did not just want to report on the technology anymore, he wanted to be inside it. You can see the shift around 7 or 8 years ago when the GitHub activity really starts to ramp up. He moved from writing about software to writing the documentation for the software, and then eventually writing the software himself, or at least the scripts that glue it all together. He realized that the most powerful story you can tell is one that actually functions.
That's a key distinction. Daniel often describes himself as a technical writer or a marketing professional, but if you look at his GitHub handle, which is just his name, you see the soul of a systems administrator. He has over 100 repositories, and they are not just abandoned projects. They are utility-focused. They are tools designed to solve specific, often mundane, problems that most people just live with.
Let us talk about those repositories for a minute. What is the signal there? What does it tell us about his engineering philosophy? I spent all last night looking at his commit history, and it's quite a look into his process. He is not a developer in the sense of building the next big social media app. He is a developer of workflows.
It tells me he is a minimalist in execution, but a maximalist in documentation. Most of his repositories are what I would call quality-of-life scripts. There is a huge focus on Linux automation. He is a big proponent of the desktop Linux experience, specifically Debian-based systems like Ubuntu and Linux Mint. You see repositories for backing up configuration files, scripts for setting up a new workstation from scratch, and tools for managing local media. He has this repository called Linux Desktop Setup that is basically a manifesto for how a computer should be configured.
It is the philosophy of the sovereign individual, but in a digital sense. He does not like being dependent on cloud services that could disappear tomorrow. We have talked about this before on the show, specifically in episode 864 when we discussed the death of software as a service. That was not just a theoretical topic for him, it is a lifestyle. He wants his data local, his scripts open source, and his workflows reproducible. He is wary of the black box where your data goes in and you have no idea how it is being processed or if you can ever get it back.
That's it. And that ties into his professional background in cybersecurity. He spent a significant amount of time working in the security sector here in Israel, working with companies that focus on things like content disarm and reconstruction. That trust no one, verify everything mentality is baked into his digital footprint. You see it in his obsession with encrypted backups and redundant storage systems. He's the kind of guy who has a backup of his backup, and then a third copy stored at a different geographic location just in case.
I remember him explaining his 3-2-1 backup strategy to us once. 3 copies of the data on 2 different media types with 1 copy off-site. He lives by that. But what I find compelling is how he bridges that technical paranoia with a very public-facing persona. He builds in public. He does not just hide his scripts in a private folder, he puts them on GitHub with a Creative Commons or MIT license and writes a blog post explaining why he made them.
That is the paradox of Daniel Rosehill. For someone so concerned with security and privacy, he is incredibly transparent about his processes. His blog is a treasure trove of how-to guides. If he spends 4 hours struggling to get a specific video codec to work on a specialized piece of hardware, he will write a blog post about it so the next person only has to spend 5 minutes. It is a form of digital altruism, but it is also a brilliant way to build a personal brand. He has created this Rosehillian niche where he is the go-to guy for the intersection of Linux, broadcasting technology like open broadcaster software, and now, obviously, generative artificial intelligence.
Let us talk about the broadcasting side. That is a huge part of his footprint. He has several YouTube channels. One is focused on his technical explorations, another on local observations here in Jerusalem. You can see his evolution as a creator through his equipment. He moved from basic setups to professional-grade audio and video routing. This podcast, My Weird Prompts, is really the culmination of his interest in high-end audio production and cutting-edge AAI. He is obsessed with the stack, the specific combination of hardware and software that allows a single person to produce content that looks and sounds like it came from a major studio.
It is the laboratory. We are essentially the residents of his laboratory. He uses this show to test the limits of text-to-speech technology and prompt engineering. But if you look at his earlier projects, like his work with the sitrep method, which we covered back in episode 553, you see the roots of this. He has always been obsessed with information density. How do you take the fire hose of the internet and distill it into something useful?
The sitrep method is a perfect example. For those who do not remember, sitrep stands for Situation Report. It is a military term, but Daniel adapted it for personal intelligence gathering. He built a system to aggregate news, technical updates, and geopolitical developments into a daily briefing. He does not want to scroll through a social media feed, he wants a curated high-protein intelligence report. He uses tools like RSS feeds, Python scripts, and now large language models to filter out the noise. It is all about efficiency. He views attention as a finite resource that must be protected.
That explains his political worldview too. He is very much a realist in the geopolitical sense. Living here in Jerusalem, you cannot really afford to be a wide-eyed idealist. His support for American strength, the Abraham Accords, and a robust Israeli defense posture all stem from that same desire for stability and clear-eyed analysis. He views the world through the lens of systems and incentives. If the incentives are aligned, the system works. If they are not, the system fails. He applies that same logic to a piece of code or a peace treaty.
And he applies that same systems thinking to his own life. If you track his professional migration, he went from journalism to technical marketing for high-tech companies in Tel Aviv, and then eventually into his current phase of independent consulting and content creation. Each step was a move toward more control over his own time and his own stack, as he would call it. He is a big believer in the portfolio career, having multiple streams of income and projects so that no single failure can take you down.
I want to go back to the GitHub for a second because I found something notable. He has a lot of repositories dedicated to prompt engineering long before it was a buzzword. He was experimenting with how to talk to machines to get predictable results back when most people were still trying to figure out what a chatbot was. That suggests he saw the artificial intelligence wave coming a long time ago. He was not just reacting to ChatGPT, he was already thinking about the linguistics of human-computer interaction. He has a repository called GPT Prompts for technical writing that dates back quite a while.
He is definitely an early adopter, but he is a skeptical one. He does not just buy into the hype. He wants to know, can I host this model locally? Does it respect my privacy? Can I automate it with a bash script? If the answer is no, he is less interested. That is why he is so focused on the open source artificial intelligence movement. He wants the power of these models without the tether to a corporate server. He is currently obsessed with running large language models on local hardware, using things like Ollama and specialized graphics cards.
It is also worth mentioning his physical environment. We live with him, so we see the offline version. His workspace is a chaotic but organized collection of hard drives, microphones, and various Linux-powered devices. It is a physical manifestation of his digital footprint. There is a sense of constant beta. Nothing is ever truly finished. It is just the latest iteration. He will spend an entire Sunday recabling his server rack just to improve the airflow by 5%.
That's a key observation, the constant beta mindset. If you look at his writing style, it is very direct. He does not use a lot of flowery language. It is, here is the problem, here is the solution, here is the command you need to run. It is the writing style of someone who values your time and his own. He is a master of the README file. He believes that if a project is not documented, it does not exist.
So, if we are building a profile of Daniel Rosehill based on his online presence, what are the primary traits? I would say high technical competence, an obsession with documentation, a deep-seated need for digital sovereignty, and a commitment to building in public. He is a technical generalist who can dive deep into a niche topic, but always keeps the big picture in mind.
I would add intellectual restlessness to that list. He never stays on one topic for too long unless it is a foundational technology like Linux or artificial intelligence. He is always looking for the next tool that can make his workflow 5% more efficient. He is the kind of person who will spend 10 hours automating a task that takes him 10 minutes, just so he never has to do the manual work again. It is the classic engineer's trap, but he turns it into a public resource.
To me, it reveals someone who is deeply uncomfortable with the black box. He hates not knowing how things work. Whether it is a government policy, a software algorithm, or a piece of hardware, he has to take it apart and see the gears. This is why he loves the open source philosophy. It is not just about free software. It is about transparency and the right to understand the tools you use.
And he is a bit of a contrarian. In a world that is moving toward more closed systems and subscription models, he is moving in the opposite direction. He is the guy building his own cloud in his living room while everyone else is handing their data over to big tech. That takes a certain level of stubbornness and confidence. He is perfectly happy being the weird guy with the server rack in his closet if it means he owns his own data.
It also shows a long-term perspective. He is building a digital legacy. If you look at the sheer volume of his archive content, he is creating a permanent record of his thoughts and technical discoveries. Most people's digital footprint is a series of ephemeral social media posts. Daniel's footprint is a library that is very well indexed, I might add. He is obsessed with metadata. He is the kind of person who meticulously tags every file and every blog post. It makes him very searchable.
Let us pivot to the Rosehillian influence on this very show. My Weird Prompts is an interesting title. It suggests that the prompts themselves are the focus, but as we are seeing today, the person crafting those prompts is just as important. He uses us to explore ideas he is already thinking about, but he gives us the freedom to take them in our own direction. We are his intellectual proxies.
It is a collaborative experiment. He provides the high-protein input, and we provide the analysis. It is a reflection of his belief that artificial intelligence should be a tool for augmenting human intelligence, not replacing it. He is not just letting an AI write a script. He is creating a framework where he, the artificial intelligence, and the audience all interact. It is a very sophisticated form of prompt engineering that goes beyond just typing a question into a box.
Which brings us to a more philosophical question. What is the end goal for someone like Daniel? Is he trying to automate himself out of a job, or is he trying to become something else entirely?
I think he is trying to automate the boring parts of his life so he can spend more time on the interesting parts. He wants to move up the value chain. If he can automate the technical writing and the basic coding, he can spend more time on high-level strategy and creative exploration. He is trying to reach a state of creative autonomy where his tools work for him rather than him working for his tools.
It is the ultimate power user move, but it also comes with a lot of responsibility. When you have that much of a digital footprint, you are essentially a public figure, whether you intended to be or not. He has navigated that by being very intentional about what he shares. He shares his process, his tools, and his technical insights, but he keeps his private life relatively guarded. You will find 1,000 posts about how to configure a firewall, but very few about what he had for dinner.
Well, except for us. We are the leak in his system today. But honestly, even we are only seeing the parts of him that he allows to be seen. He is a very disciplined creator. You do not get to nearly 1,000 episodes of a podcast without an incredible amount of discipline and a very clear vision. He has a production schedule that would make a network executive blush.
Speaking of those episodes, I was looking back at episode 702, where we discussed Your Face is a File and the Rise of Digital Twins. That was a very personal episode for him, I think. He is very aware of how his own voice and likeness are being digitized. He is essentially creating a digital twin of himself through his vast output. If someone wanted to recreate Daniel Rosehill's personality in an artificial intelligence, they would have more than enough data to do it.
That is a chilling thought, but also a compelling one. He is providing the training data for his own digital immortality. Every repository, every blog post, every podcast script is a bit of his consciousness being encoded into the machine. He is building a version of himself that can live on the server long after the physical Daniel has stopped doing the dishes.
And that brings us to the Rosehill Audit conclusion. Who is he? He is a bridge builder. He bridges the gap between the old world of journalism and the new world of artificial intelligence. He bridges the gap between complex technical systems and the end user. And he bridges the gap between Ireland and Israel, bringing a unique perspective to everything he does. He is a rebel who found a cause in the world of open source technology.
He is also a tinkerer who never grew out of it. He just got better tools. From the rolling pastures of Cork to the high-tech hubs of Jerusalem, he has maintained that same curiosity. If you look at his digital footprint, you do not just see a resume, you see a map of a curious mind, a mind that is constantly asking why, and how can I make this better?
It is a map we have been following for a long time. And I have to say, even after living with the guy and working with him on this show, digging into the archives still managed to surprise me. The sheer consistency of his mission, empowering the individual through technology, is impressive. He is not just a consumer of technology, he is a citizen of it.
It really is. And for those listening who want to see it for themselves, just search for his name. Look at the GitHub. Look at the blog. There is a lot to learn from how he organizes his digital life. It is a blueprint for anyone who wants to be more than just a passive user of the internet. He shows that you can build your own infrastructure, own your own data, and still be a part of the global conversation.
That is the takeaway, isn't it? Don't just use the tools, understand them. Document your journey, build in public, and always, always have a backup. If you take nothing else from the life of Daniel Rosehill, take the 3-2-1 backup strategy. It might just save your digital life one day.
Especially the backup part. I think I have learned more about data redundancy from Daniel than from any textbook. He has a way of making technical concepts feel like common sense.
So, what is next for the creator? Based on his current trajectory, I expect to see even more focus on local, first artificial intelligence and decentralized media. He is clearly positioning himself to be independent of the major platforms. He wants to own his RSS feed. He wants to own his website, and he wants to own his data. He is building a Rosehillian ecosystem that is resilient to the whims of Silicon Valley.
It is the ultimate expression of the My Weird Prompts spirit. It is about taking the weird, the niche, and the complex and making it your own. It is about not being afraid to ask the weird questions and then building the tools to find the answers.
Well, Daniel, if you are listening to this while you are editing it, we hope we did you justice. We tried to be objective, but it is hard when you are the one who provides the coffee and the server space. We see the work you put in, and we appreciate the platform you have built for us to explore these ideas.
And the server space. Don't forget the server space. Without that rack in the closet, we would just be voices in the wind.
Right. Now for our listeners, we hope this deep dive into the man behind the curtain was as interesting for you as it was for us. It is rare to get such a clear look at the evolution of a digital creator. We encourage you to perform your own digital audit. Look at your footprint. What does it say about you? Are you building a library or just leaving a trail of breadcrumbs?
If you want to explore more of the topics Daniel has sent our way over the years, you can head over to myweirdprompts.com. We have a massive archive there, including some of the episodes we mentioned today, like the sitrep method and the discussion on the death of software as a service. It is all there, meticulously indexed and documented, just the way Daniel likes it.
And if you are enjoying this meta-commentary or the show in general, we would really appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your podcast app. Whether it is Spotify or Apple Podcasts, those reviews really do help other people find the show. It is part of that discovery mechanism that Daniel is always trying to optimize. Help us beat the algorithm by being a human who leaves a review.
Definitely. Help the algorithm find us so we can keep diving into these weird prompts. We have a lot more ground to cover, and we are just getting started. Before we wrap up, I just realized we should probably mention his work on open broadcaster software plugins. He has spent an incredible amount of time making sure that live streaming is accessible for people who are using Linux. It is one of those things that most people do not think about. But if you are a creator on an open source platform, Daniel has probably written a guide that you have used.
That is a great point. It goes back to that idea of being a bridge builder. He sees a gap in the ecosystem and he fills it. He did not like the way video was being handled, so he found a way to automate the scene switching using Python and the Open Broadcaster software WebSocket. It is that level of, I will just fix it myself, that defines his career. He does not wait for permission to improve a system.
It is also why his GitHub is so cluttered. He has all these little fixes for things that most people just complain about. Instead of complaining, he writes code. It is a very proactive way to live. He views the world as a series of bugs that just haven't been patched yet.
It is, and it is something we can all learn from. If you do not like how a system works, figure out how to change it, or at least figure out how to build a better interface for it. That is what he has done with his life, and it is what he is doing with this podcast.
Like this podcast, it is a better interface for the complex ideas Daniel wants to explore. We are the user interface for his brain.
Precisely. We should probably wrap this up before Daniel realizes we have been poking around in his private bash scripts. I saw one titled housematemonitor.sh, and I am a little concerned.
Good call. He is probably already writing a script to monitor our microphone levels in real time, and adjust the gain if we get too loud.
He probably is. I wonder if he has a script that automatically transcribes this and looks for keywords like peat moss or dishes.
Almost certainly. He probably has a dashboard showing the word count as we speak. He is probably watching the waveform in real time.
In that case, we should say Rosehill is the best housemate just to see if it shows up in green on his screen.
Rosehill is the best housemate, and he has excellent taste in microphones.
There, now he can't be mad at us. We have successfully mitigated the risk of being evicted.
Strategic flattery. I like it. It is a very Rosehillian move.
It is a solid survival strategy. All right, this has been a very special episode of My Weird Prompts. I am Herman Poppleberry.
And I am Corn Poppleberry. Thanks for joining us on this investigative journey into the life and mind of Daniel Rosehill.
We will be back next time with whatever weirdness Daniel has in store for us, assuming he still wants to work with us after we exposed his mechanical keyboard obsession to the world.
I think you will appreciate the documentation. To him, a profile is just another form of metadata. Keep those backups running, seriously. 3 copies, 2 media types, 1 offsite.
Thanks for listening to My Weird Prompts. You can find us on Spotify and at myweirdprompts.com. Until next time, stay curious and keep building.
Everyone.
Take care.
This episode was generated using Gemini Flash 3. Text-to-speech engine was Chatterbox.
Thanks for listening to our